All right, 4 true Home Alone slash Airbnb horror stories. This one's from Dark Ace. I meant to watch this one actually because I think you brought this channel up to me before. I never watched it. So we're gonna watch this one. It's 20 minutes. We're gonna watch the other one that I wanted to watch. Let's check it out. I actually watched this channel before. Now that I remember the animation style. That was a while ago though.
I live in a small country where things still go bump in the night. And that doesn't go for just creepy local legends.
Go bump in the night.
Dark strangers, cartels, I think you get the idea. Where I live, nowhere is truly removed from the day-to-day dangers of the unknown. It was a dark night. I found myself home alone. Here, it isn't uncommon for the entire family to live together. Grandparents, parents, children, grandchildren will all share a growing piece of property for wealth and security. It's the simplest way to live. But as you can imagine, being home alone is a rarity. With so many people under one roof, it's almost impossible to time anything just right to ever be actually alone. So I did what I always do. I hooked up the surround sound throughout the living room and turned out all the lights. I bundled up on the couch with my favorite snack and watched whatever I desired on the big family television. Despite the ever-present danger I mentioned earlier, I remember the evening being quite relaxing. Rain and a breeze moved in along the coast and created a pitter-patter against the roof. As the night went on, I thought I heard someone at the front door. As I moved to investigate, the sound and movement stopped. But being a stormy night, and that I had the sound up so loud, I truly in my heart believed I'd simply heard something that wasn't there. I turned back to the movie and did my best to relax. That's when the back door began to rattle.
Everybody eating, huh?
I adjust myself on the sofa to get a better look.
I got Welch's fruit snacks.
Someone starts to knock. A frantic, heavy banging against the hard wood. I froze in place. Whatever I dismissed as storm sounds, or maybe just the junk blowing around in the backyard,
you got them high
is
eyes.
Now undeniable. There's someone trying to come inside the house. Everyone who lives there naturally has a key. Whoever is outside the door clearly does not. At the time, I'm an 18-year-old man. I'm running through the logical scenarios in my head. Whoever this is, they tried to open up the front door, then slip around the side of the house, and is now trying to force the back door open. This isn't cartel or a monster. Anything with real bloodlust would have forced the front door open. I reasoned that it's a common thief. Probably someone very nervous and trying to remain unseen.
You just gonna sit there?
Being 18, I decided to take them head on and show the world this asshole picked the wrong house.
Not acting like that.
I moved from the couch to the kitchen, grabbed the biggest cleaver I can find.
All right.
10 inches of dingy, ugly steel. Still, the door handle is twisting back and forth. Go time. I have no idea what's gonna happen, but I'm down for whatever. There's nothing like the mentality of a teenager. You don't know who you're messing with, I shouted through the door. The stranger on the other side stopped shaking the handle for a moment. I know you're out there. You have 3 seconds to get the out of here, or I'll cut you up. They didn't care. The knocking started again, even harder than before. My confidence.
You ain't got no bass in your voice. You better start yelling.
I took a deep breath and readied myself. In my head, this was do or die. Hoisting the cleaver over my head, I unfastened the bolt and threw open the door before me. It wasn't a burglar or a gangster of any kind. It was my sweet little grandma. She stood there soaking wet with an expression of agitation, but also unmistakable terror. What are you doing?
Well, you should have announced yourself. I'm in here spooked.
What are you doing at the back door? I asked. I thought you were an intruder. No, no, no. She laughed as she stepped inside the house. I went and paused the television while she shut her coats by the door. She explained that she'd gotten home during the storm. Tried knocking for a while. That was the noise I heard at the front door. I guess she knocked for quite a while because she finally gave up and decided to try the back door. The front entrance has a little cover, so she figured that even if it were locked, at least she would be out of the rain. That's when I started to hear the commotion and decided to go to war with whatever was outside. Glad I didn't though, because I seriously almost killed my grandma.
Cap, you was not that tough. Stop. You're not that guy, pal. Story 2.
I live in a pretty rural area outside of your average middle America town. It was my night off, and I decided to just hang around the house myself. I got some things done around the yard, did a little self-care, and then settled in with dinner and a movie for the evening.
Kappa.
I like to be low energy every now and again, but still, I have the tendencies of a night owl. The movie turned into a TV show, and soon it was well past midnight. I hunkered down with my phone and a blanket and let the night really begin. Just as I'm zoning out, someone starts pounding on my front door. Not a knock, but a full force blow against the wood. I freeze for a moment, but then I make the easy assumption it's my boyfriend coming over for a spontaneous booty call. This was common behavior for him, and one of the reasons I did like staying up late. I barely had to stand up from the couch to be able to see through the small glass window in the front door. Now, I really do freeze. My heart is the only thing I can feel in motion, steadily slamming up my throat. Staring back at me through the pain was not my boyfriend.
What about your
But
throat?
an older, bearded stranger.
What the fuck is that? Slim Shady? Bro, what about your throat?
Heart is the only thing I can feel in motion, steadily slamming up my throat. Staring back at me through
I
the
don't know
pain
what you
was
talking
not my
about, but
boyfriend,
hey.
but an older, bearded stranger. It was the most unfamiliar face I'd ever seen. This little window in the door was weird because if you were up close and trying to look through it, the prismatic glass skewed the optics, made it impossible to know what you were looking at. You had to have some distance between yourself
That's
and
a
the
nasty
window,
front door.
like I had right now, to make out what was actually on the other side. This guy was looking at me, but I knew
Look at, that's a nasty front door. Bro, I couldn't have no front door like this. That shit immediately getting 5% tint on it. Like a curtain. Like, bro, hell no. You're not finna come to my door, knock on my door, and then you. Nah, hell no. Now I'm finna fight you. I don't care who outside because there's no way. Head glitching. Walking animation so nasty. Bro was walking like this. I was trying not to act like I didn't see it, but I saw it.
he couldn't actually see me.
You're not finna just look in my house like that.
I snuck back down the hallway and
crazy.
hid in the doorway of my bedroom. I was scared, but I would have been way more scared if I didn't have an eye on him. I couldn't imagine how I'd feel if I turned my back for 1 second and lost track of him. Remember when I said I live rural? Well, I also live in a cellular dead zone. I didn't even bother to find the damn thing.
Why would you move
Instead,
there?
I stepped to my bedside and fished the landline from my end table. I hit the dial button and brung the receiver to my ear. It's completely dead in my hand. The guy hammers on the door, this time screaming at the top of his lungs. "Let me in," he slurs. My blood runs cold. This is now worse than a horror movie.
Let me in.
I start running through what few options are available to me. No phone, no way to get to the car, no one coming to get me. I have to stay inside where it's safe. That's the only thing that makes sense. First, I sneak into the kitchen, slide the chef knife out of the block.
You're not sneaking nowhere without no curtains.
House. Next, I slink into the bathroom across from my bedroom and lock the door. It's just a weak little handle lock, but it's enough to buy me some time if he actually breaks through the front door. For some reason, the idea of keeping the high ground was pulsing through my mind. It was literally all I could think about, where I barricaded myself in the bathroom. So, I climbed up onto the countertop and crouched above the door. If he broke in, I'd be able to jump on his back and stab him in the neck and shoulders.
Doesn't anyone have it? No, they don't.
Terrified of
These people, I don't know what they be doing.
I do have to admit, I was very pleased with my whole little assault strategy. In my head, it made the most sense. With a knife in hand, all I had to do was sink it home. Time went by. That guy just keeps yelling. "Hey, let me in." Now he was moving around the house.
Hey, my favorite animation is I Am My Scary Tales.
Siding as he walked from end to end.
These niggas tweaking.
He checked each and every window, yanking on the frame, pushing on the glass. Thankfully, I kept them all locked, as well as both doors. I could hear his frustration, and he took to wailing on the walls again, demanding I let him inside.
Them clouds moving.
Something occurred to me. That handset I fished out from my bedside table was dead. This psycho didn't cut the line. I just didn't charge the phone. There was a second one down the hall in the kitchen. Nervously, I climbed down from my perch on the countertop and waited until I heard the guy on the opposite side of the house. unlocked the door.
How are you
and
hearing
bolted
all
for the
this?
phone, which
Turtle
was
Beach
exactly
ears.
where I thought it'd be, sitting in the cradle by the back door. I snagged it and retreated back to the bathroom. I called 911, and they dispatched a few officers, but were totally transparent when they told me it'd take at least 15 minutes for them to get there. I was on my own and needed to stay frosty until they arrived. I stayed on the line until the cops arrived. They could hear the guy pulling and kicking at the doors, screaming for me to open it. The longest 15 minutes of my life. When they arrived, they apprehended the man immediately.
He really never got in the
Dispatch confirmed
house.
that I could exit the house, where I stepped out to find a whole team of cops standing around one dirty, scruffy,
Bro,
drunk
handsome.
off
Who's
his
that?
ass hippie
Leon
looking
Kennedy?
kid. He was cuffed, sitting on the ground, totally confused
my
about the
God.
situation. He clearly wasn't a murderer. There was a party down the road. This kid stumbled off to take a piss or something, got lost in the dark, and thought my house was the spot. He convinced himself that everyone had locked the doors and was hiding somewhere. Turned out to be a big misunderstanding, but still,
Right.
it was absolutely terrifying. To this day, nothing compares to what I felt that night.
Why are you
Remember
living in
to
the
keep your
woods by
phones
yourself?
charged and at the ready.
Why are you living in the woods by yourself? Hell no. Hey,
I live on my own in a
we're not watching all of these. We're going to watch one more of these, and then I'm going to the other one.
two-bedroom
These
house.
niggas all tweaking.
I used to rent out the spare room to tenants on a long-term basis, but when I heard about Airbnb, I learned that I could maximize the profits by charging more money for a short stay. Sometimes I could earn in a long weekend what I would receive
The
for charging a
animation was
month's
fire
rent,
though, like
so
like
it seemed
the
like a
scenery.
no-brainer. This meant I either had the place to myself
when they
for
start
a good
moving-
portion of the month, or I was receiving a higher income for the month. Either way, it was a win. This one night, I received a booking from a new Airbnb user called Ella. When I say new, I mean her profile didn't have any feedback or anything indicating she had used the platform before. She had booked for 2 nights, and this was fine with me. Airbnb was pretty established at this point, and I would always take photos before and after to save arguments of damage. Plus, I had cameras installed in all the communal areas to protect me from damage or theft.
Alright, good cameras.
The room I rented out was an ensuite bedroom and included a microwave and kettle in the room, so there was no real reason to leave unless you were leaving the house. Ella arrived, and at first glance she seemed nice, nothing
Alright.
unusual. We made some small talk, and she said she was just visiting some friends for the weekend and needed somewhere to crash. I showed her around and carried her bag up to her room and handed her her key and left her there. I usually just stayed in my room when people were over. The living room was off limits to guests, but usually when guests hear the television, they take it upon themselves to come in and chat, whereas people seem to respect the privacy of a bedroom a little more. That night I heard Ella walking around the house. She didn't
Alright.
make a lot of noise or anything, but I could hear the creaking of the floorboards as she tiptoed down the hall. I soon fell asleep, as I had been working all week, and when I woke in the morning, everything seemed normal, nothing unusual about the house. I saw Ella leaving and wished her a good day. It was that night where things got really weird. I heard Ella come home
She
and
kinda
remember
bad, though.
looking at the clock next to my bed. It was 1:15. I could hear 2 voices, Ella's and someone else's.
Oh.
I had explained the rules of no other guests in the house without asking me first,
Get
so
up,
I
no.
jumped out of bed
Yeah.
to tell her there would be an additional charge for
Exactly.
anyone else.
Hey, get to it.
I opened my bedroom
yeah,
door
stand on
and there
business.
was Ella, standing on her own. I looked down the hall and there was no one there. Ella looked at me stunned as to why I had shot out of the bedroom
You
door
straight,
so
girl?
fast. "I'm sorry, I thought I heard more than one voice," Ella replied. "It's okay, it happens all the time." I smiled and closed the door. What did she mean, it happens all the time? I thought this was an odd thing to say,
Why
and it
didn't
kinda
ask?
gave me chills. I was convinced she was talking to someone though, so I thought I would check the camera footage. The
Alright.
footage didn't record audio, as I thought that was a bit invasive.
That's
But as I
cool.
watched the playback, Ella did appear to be talking to someone. She was smiling, laughing, and even looking to her side as if someone else was walking through the
Yeah,
house
that
with
block.
her. But as far as I could see, she was alone. Then I heard a loud thud, which sounded like it came from the hall, more specifically, outside my room.
You
I
got a
felt a
gun?
bit weirded out from watching that video of Ella walking through the house talking to someone, so I switched to the live feed. Ella's face was right in front of the hall camera. I shouted to her to ask if she was okay. She turned around and walked back into her bedroom without saying a word. I never saw her for the rest of the night. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night either. Sunday morning, I heard Ella's bedroom door close and heard her walking down the hallway, and then I heard the front door close. Most people thank you and say they had a nice time, but not Ella. She just left.
She mad because she got
Sunday
caught
night,
talking to
still
herself.
weirded out by the night before, I thought I would check out the cameras from Friday night too. Ella had been walking around the house for 3 hours in the middle of the night. But Ella didn't just walk around. She urinated in my kitchen sink,
What?
then went to the fridge and drank my orange juice straight out of the carton. Then she
Oh,
helped herself to my food, placing her hands in the likes of my cereal boxes and biscuits. She didn't even wash her hands after urinating in my sink.
Peeing in
Then
the
she
sink is
walked
crazy.
just out of shot of the camera. I could see her arms moving, and then she walked over to the freezer, opened it, put her arm inside, then closed it. Did she just put something in my freezer?
Uh-oh.
I went to the freezer to check it out, and this grown-ass woman had taken a shit in her hand while in my kitchen and put it in my freezer.
This grown ass woman.
I was absolutely in shock at what I just saw.
Nah, call the police. She booked the Airbnb, right? You got her information, bro. Get this bitch off the streets, bro. She can't be going. Nah.
I reported her to Airbnb and
Right?
submitted the footage. I received some compensation, but this girl was a freak and not right in her head.
She was a freak, all right.
I think she was banned from the platform after that, and since then, I've had no more weird encounters.
What's up with these cribs in the middle of nowhere? You gotta expect these kind of people to book an Airbnb in your spot right here. Like, why is you in the middle of a patch of sand in the forest? Yeah, you gonna get creeps coming to your Airbnb.
Not yet, anyway.
My name is Jason,
Okay, never mind. That's
and
good.
I am a chef by passion and profession. A head chef, actually. If I don't go to work, one of the most popular fine dine spots of LA falls into chaos. I've been working hard lately and usually have to pull off later hours, something which has been causing a bit of a rift between me and my girl.
Sleep stream.
So Valentine's Day was supposed to be the one where I had to make some sacrifices on the
yet.
work front. I had to make it a day where my culinary skills would intertwine with the romance I shared with Valentina. She had gone
clapper is
hiking
crazy.
with her best friend, Matt, and was due to return by 7 p.m. for the special dinner I had planned. But as the evening unfolded, it became anything but romantic. Firstly, I didn't want her to go. I mean, who abandons their boyfriend on Valentine's Day to take a hike with their best friend? I could very much
Cap.
understand that she was trying to teach me a lesson, and I knew that if I had to save the night, I should keep my mouth shut. I had to spend the day in a flurry of activities, crafting a menu that was a labor of love. Seared scallops, her favorite steak done to perfection, and a delicious chocolate mousse for dessert.
You cooking it.
Everything was laid out meticulously, the table set with candles and roses, creating an ambiance befitting the occasion. As the clock ticked past the agreed time, I sent Valentina a text, my anticipation tinged with a hint of worry. Hey love, dinner's ready. Everything okay?
Sorry, running a bit late. The hike's taking longer than expected.
I tried to remain patient, busying myself with last-minute touches to the dishes, but as the minutes turned into hours,
Nah,
her
where's she at,
texts
bro?
started veering into the realm of the bizarre. You've been gone a while.
Hey, you made-
Should I start worrying?
Got distracted. Found something weird in the woods. I'll tell you about it when I get there.
Her vague responses did little to quell my growing unease.
Call it,
To
bro.
add to my frustrations, I noticed a rat dart across the kitchen.
Where you get
We
rats?
had a minor infestation problem lately, but
Oh.
this was the worst possible timing. I couldn't let a rat win as well now. Grabbing a bat, I gave chase, my mood souring further. The rat proved elusive, evading my every attempt to hit it, ultimately vanishing into the hole in the wall. Defeated and angered, I tossed the bat aside, my mind now a whirlwind of concerns. Valentina's delayed return, her odd
You not gonna
messages,
call her,
and now
bro?
this infuriating rat
She's
problem.
sketchy.
It felt like the universe was conspiring to ruin our night. Val, it's getting really late. When are you coming home?
Lost track of time. Heading back now. Sorry, babe.
No, you don't call me babe right now in this point. What you do is, he got an iPhone in his hand. Hit that FaceTime button. I'm pretty sure she got one too. She on your contract. I know she is, nigga. Hit that damn call button. If she don't answer, tell her don't bring her ass home because she tripping. Oh, God.
I wanted to believe her, but a nagging
What's she doing, bro?
suspicion crept into my thoughts. Was there something going on between her and Matt? The thought was like a splinter in my mind.
Wait,
refusing
her and Matt. Wait, her best friend is a boy named Matt? You a sucker, bro.
to be ignored. By the time the clock struck 11, my worry had morphed into a blend of anger and anxiety.
He probably didn't do
Then,
nothing with her, but
finally, the door opened.
Where is she?
Valentina stepped in, but she was different. Her usually vibrant demeanor was replaced by an unsettlingly subdued aura. Her eyes lacked their usual spark, and her movements were strangely lethargic. As I greeted her, ready to express my frustration, she cut me off, insisting repeatedly that she was already full and didn't want any of the dinner I'd prepared.
You full of what?
This was unlike her. She always relished my cooking. You're not hungry, but you love my steak, and I've been preparing all day.
I just don't feel like eating right now, Jason.
What you eat?
I had something on the hike.
What you
Her
eat?
words were off, her tone distant. It was as if she was avoiding something,
What you
hiding
eat?
a secret that lay just beyond my reach. The apartment, usually warm and inviting, now felt cold, as if a chill had followed her inside. As the night progressed,
Full
the
of
atmosphere in the apartment shifted. There was a tangible sense of unease. I couldn't point, but I thought objects seemed to move on their own. Lights flickered without reason, and a chilling
did.
cold enveloped the space even though the radiator was working. Valentina's behavior became increasingly bizarre as well. She mumbled things in between in a language I couldn't recognize, her voice taking on an eerie timbre. Maybe I was just finding reasons. I left one of the busiest days at my restaurant to be with her, but she was disinterested, like I've never seen her before. The evening had turned from a romantic celebration into a surreal, unnerving experience. I found myself questioning not just our relationship, but my very perception of reality. What had happened on that hike? What had she found in the woods? And most importantly,
You sitting here
what was wrong
curious?
with her?
Ask
The
her.
Valentina that stood before me now was a far cry from the woman I knew and loved. She appeared a bit strange. The clock struck midnight, yet the eerie aura that enveloped the apartment showed no signs of waning. Standing there with the
I'll be
Valentine's
eating.
dinner I had painstakingly
Look at that.
prepared lying untouched, I felt a mixture of resentment and profound concern.
Bible on her
Valentina's behavior was increasingly perplexing. Her aversion to the food, her distant demeanor, and her comments about being full was unsettling to say the least. She had been following intermittent fasting religiously before we even started dating. I knew that the woman would do anything to stick to her diet, so I knew that she was lying. Val, this isn't like you. You've been acting off ever since you got back. What happened on that hike?
I just don't feel like eating right now, Jason. I had something on the hike.
Her dismissive tone
You're not
irked
finna
me.
keep telling me
The
that. I don't give a damn about you eating right now. Cause you sitting here looking crazy. Now I need to know what happened on that hike. Matter of fact, call Matt. Where your phone at? Let me call Matt real quick. Cause if you ain't gonna tell me, he gonna tell me. Give me your phone and tell him to come over right now. Because I'm not hungry. I had something on a hike. What he gave you on that hike? Huh? Because now, now I'm finna have an attitude. You sitting here, you're not about to do that one.
The more I pressed for clarity, the more she retreated into the shell of ambiguity. My mind raced with possibilities,
tell me
the most
something.
unsettling of which was the thought of her and Matt. But as the night
Right.
progressed, the nature of my concern shifted dramatically. Valentina's behavior became increasingly bizarre. She paced the apartment restlessly, her mood
Hold on. I'm sorry to pause this, but hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can find this real quick. I don't know why this was on my mind, but he took her in the forest, had her like this, and had her like this out there. Oh my goodness, bruh.
movements erratic and uncoordinated. At one point, she stopped abruptly, staring blankly at the wall as if seeing something invisible to my eyes. Valentina, what are you looking at?
Can't you hear them, Jason? The whispers.
There were no whispers, just the deafening silence of the apartment punctuated by the occasional flicker of the lights. A chill crept down my spine, the room inexplicably growing colder. My breath became visible, fogging in the frigid air.
Yeah, it's
I
going
wrapped
crazy.
my arms
Look.
around myself, struggling to make sense of the rapidly deteriorating situation. As the night deepened, the apartment seemed to take on a life of its own. Doors
demon
slammed
now.
shut without any draft, lights dimmed and brightened of their own accord, and shadows moved in the periphery of my vision, playing tricks on my mind. Valentina's strange behavior escalated in tandem with the paranormal activities. She began mumbling in a language I couldn't understand, her voice distorted, almost manly at times.
Ooh.
Panic began to set in.
Yeah, Matt
The
jumped in
woman
her
I
soul.
loved was transforming into something unrecognizable, something frightening. I tried to approach her, to reach out and understand what was happening, but she recoiled from my touch, her skin icy cold. Val, please talk to me. What's going on with you?
It's so cold, Jason. So very cold.
Her words sent shivers through me. The temperature of the apartment had dropped further, a supernatural chill that seemed to emanate from her very being. In a moment of horrifying clarity, I realized that whatever was happening to Valentina was beyond the realm of the natural, beyond anything I could comprehend. Something happened on that hike.
There you go,
I gave
call
call
him.
to Matt to ask what was up, but he was unavailable.
Oh, nah.
The apartment suddenly became a theater of the macabre, with Valentina
Call her
as the
from-
unwilling protagonist.
Get her phone.
With my own eyes, I saw objects levitating momentarily
hell.
before crashing to the ground.
You gotta get out.
Mirrors fogging over as if breathed upon by unseen entities.
He done cursed
and the
your girl.
shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. Valentina's demeanor oscillated between moments of lucidity and terrifying episodes where she seemed entirely possessed by an unknown force. As I stood there, torn between fleeing and staying to help the woman I loved, a dreadful thought crossed my mind. Was Valentina under the influence of something supernatural?
Yeah.
The notion seemed
yeah.
ludicrous, yet the events of the night defied any logical explanation.
She's full, all right.
In a desperate bid to
We're full of
restore some
possession.
normalcy, I attempted to engage her in conversation, to pull her back. Val, we need to get you help. This isn't right.
Help? It's too late for help, Jason.
Her laughter
Oh,
was
dang, I'll call the
chilling,
priest right
void
now.
of any warmth or
Put a
humanity.
crucifix on your
It
forehead.
echoed through the apartment, a sinister sound that seemed to mock my helplessness. I was out of my depth, facing a situation that was rapidly spiraling into a nightmare. The woman I had planned to spend a romantic evening with was now at the center of a terrifying mystery, one that threatened to engulf us both in its dark embrace. The night had transformed into a surreal horror, far removed from the romantic evening I had envisioned. Valentina, the woman I had known and loved, was now a stranger, her behavior increasingly erratic and
Call the
terrifying.
priest.
The apartment, once a sanctuary, had become a stage for inexplicable and chilling phenomena. Valentina's transformation was the most disturbing of all.
Yeah,
Her
that fool
moments
frozen.
of lucidity were
That fool
fleeting, quickly
frozen.
giving way to episodes where she seemed entirely consumed by an unknown force. She kept speaking in a language that was alien to my ears, her voice taking on
Oh,
a sinister,
hell no.
otherworldly quality. Val, what's happening to you? This isn't normal.
Why
We
is you
need to
still-
find help.
See, at this point, now he about to piss me off. You're still asking her what's going on? Do you not hear that? Do you not hear Lucifer coming out of her soul? Talking about some... Like, you gonna give her a 2-piece or something? She don't want that. Give her a knuckle sandwich. Shit.
Help?
Feed her something.
There's no
You
help
probably
for
do
what's
something.
inside me.
Her response sent a wave of terror through me. It was becoming increasingly clear that we were dealing with something beyond the natural realm.
Well,
The
yeah.
apartment itself seemed to react to her presence. I realized that the closer I went to her, the chillier it got. She was the reason for the cold. In one particularly horrifying moment, Valentina's body contorted in
Oh.
ways that defied human
Whoa.
physiology.
Hold on,
Her
stay just
movements
like that.
jerky and unnatural. Her eyes, once warm and loving, now bore into mine with an intensity that was almost predatory. As the night progressed, the supernatural occurrences escalated. The very walls of the apartment seemed to pulsate with an unseen energy, amplifying the sense of dread that permeated the air. The boundary between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving me questioning my sanity. I panicked and
Man,
called
look at
her
him.
friend again, but still got no response.
He's a goofball.
In a moment of desperation, I reached out to Valentina, hoping to connect with whatever part of her remained. Valentina, please, if you can hear me, fight this. I don't know what's happening,
gonna
but
fight
I'm
you.
here for you.
Too late. Too late.
Her words trailed off into an eerie whisper, her gaze fixated on something beyond my sight. The atmosphere in the apartment
Tell
turned
her,
even more
"The power of
sinister,
Christ compels
as if her
you.
words
The
had
power of Christ."
invoked an unseen presence. Then a terrifying vision seized
Oh my
me.
goodness.
I found myself in a mountainous terrain, tied to a tree, getting spat
What a
on by
cold.
men in black masks who took turns to come ahead and cut me with a knife. They were chanting in some strange language, the same that I had heard Valentina say, and walking around in circles. As I yelled in pain, lost blood, and grew unconscious, I saw eagles floating up, waiting for my pain to be over to finally consume me. I snapped back to reality and looked at Valentina, her form now barely recognizable
Oh
as the
my
woman
God.
I loved. The sinister entity that had taken hold of her seemed to be growing in strength, feeding off her energy and the fear that filled the apartment.
You gonna stand
The
here?
vision. Was it the entity's way of letting me know what had happened to it? The night had descended into a waking nightmare, a battle against a supernatural force that defied explanation. Valentina, caught in the grip of this malevolent spirit, was both the victim and the conduit for the terror that unfolded around us. The turmoil in the apartment reached
told
its
you.
zenith, the air
Had her land on the
charged
floor
with an
like
almost
Chucky.
tangible malevolence. Valentina's behavior was now entirely crazy, her actions dictated by the sinister force that had overtaken her. Our relationship, once defined by love and understanding, had developed into a nightmarish struggle for survival. In a desperate attempt to reach her, to break through the darkness that enveloped her, I
357.
initiated a confrontation.
Right on her
Valentina,
forehead.
this isn't you! Whatever has taken a hold of you, you need to fight it!
Fight it? Oh, Jason, but I have already won.
Her response chilled me to the bone. It was clear that the entity speaking through her was mocking my efforts, reveling in the chaos it had wrought. As we argued, the supernatural phenomena around us intensified. Objects flew across the room with violent force, narrowly missing us. The flickering lights cast grotesque shadows that seemed to dance mockingly on the walls. In the midst of our heated exchange,
Bro.
strange wounds started popping
Alright.
up on her body.
She got some
They were
damn God of
intricate
War
and seemed to
symbols
pulsate
popping up
with a
now.
dark energy. Val,
Alright.
what are those symbols?
Aren't they beautiful? Each one a reminder of how they stabbed me.
The revelation sent a wave of horror through me. The situation had escalated beyond a mere possession. It was as if Valentina had become a vessel for something ancient and malevolent. The
Obviously.
climax of our confrontation
She tatted
came
and
when
shit now?
Valentina, in a fit of rage, hurled her dinner plate across the room. It shattered against the wall, its fragments scattering like the pieces of our once normal
Bro, he ain't
life.
called nobody
and
but
that
Matt.
is when the rat emerged from behind the crack in the wall. In a horrifying
Rat coming
display
out
of
like,
her
"I
new
told you to leave that
unnatural
bitch."
nature, she lunged at a rat scurrying across the floor, catching it with terrifying speed and biting its head off with a gruesome
Oh
crunch.
my.
Val, what are you doing?
And why
This
is he
isn't
still
you.
here?
Oh,
Why-
but it is, Jason. This is the real me now.
The grotesque act was a stark, gut-wrenching confirmation of the sinister transformation she had undergone. The Valentina I knew and loved was gone,
I mean,
replaced
no.
by this monstrous entity that wore her face. In that moment of
Bro.
shocking violence, I realized the full extent of the horror we were engulfed in. The supernatural force that had claimed Valentina was not just controlling her, it had meddled with her very being, warping her into something unrecognizable. As the entity inside her continued to manifest its power, I understood that I was not just
Kratos
fighting
needs to
to
come
save
whoop her.
Valentina. I was fighting against an ancient evil presence that threatened to consume everything. The terror of the night reached its harrowing climax as I stood, paralyzed with fear and disbelief, in our once peaceful apartment. Valentina, or the entity that she had become, stared at me with eyes that were a horrifying mix
Why is
of the
you-
familiar and the utterly alien.
Girl, kill
The
him.
darkness within her seemed to pulsate with a life of its own.
Kill him.
In a moment of
He
terrifying
deserved
clarity,
it.
the entity possessing Valentina began to speak, its voice a chilling blend of her own and something ancient and malevolent.
You still don't understand, do you, Jason? The power I possess, the ancient lineage I now continue.
I listened, horror-struck as the entity revealed its true nature. It spoke of an ancient ritualistic sacrifice, a malevolent spirit bound to the earth, seeking a vessel to inhabit and continue its dark legacy. The entity had been dormant, waiting for the right host, and it found that in Valentina during her hike with Matt. Where's Matt? What happened to him?
Why do you think I wasn't hungry?
The realization hit me like a physical blow.
Oh, so you ate Matt?
The entity
I knew
had
you ate that nigga,
consumed Matt,
regardless.
explaining Valentina's lack of hunger and the strange fullness she had claimed to feel. But now it hungered again, and its gaze upon me was predatory, filled with a sinister intent. What have you done with Valentina? Where is she?
Valentina is here with me. Part of me now.
A sickening sense of dread washed over me as the entity moved towards me with an unnatural grace. Its intentions were clear. I was to be its next victim. I backed away, my mind racing for a way to escape this nightmare. But the entity was relentless. It cornered me, its strength overwhelming. In a desperate bid for survival, I grabbed the nearest object, my chef's knife.
All right.
The chase through the apartment was a
he
blur,
gone.
a terrifying
he
game
gone.
of cat and
She
mouse
on
with
that
me as
nigga.
the prey. The entity wearing Valentina's face lunged at me, its eyes filled with malevolent glee. I acted on instinct, the knife in my hand finding its mark. The entity let out a blood-curdling scream as it collapsed, the malevolent light in its eyes flickering out. I stood there, shaking, the knife dripping with blood. The weight of what I had done was crushing. I had just killed Valentina, the woman I loved, even though it wasn't really her anymore. Tears streaming down my
Oh, my
face,
goodness.
I called 911.
Bro, look,
my
now he's
voice
calling
breaking as I
somebody.
tried to explain the unexplainable. Please, you have to help me. I had to do it. It wasn't her anymore. When the police arrived, they found me a broken man, slumped on the kitchen floor. But to my utter shock and horror, Valentina's body was gone. No trace of the entity, no blood, nothing. It was as if the night's events had been a figment of my imagination. The officers left, casting dubious glances my way, their suspicion evident.
Tried me.
Alone, I tried to piece together the shattered remnants of my sanity. How could she just disappear? Was the entity still out there? As I struggled to comprehend the night's events, a small,
You're probably
chilling
in your
detail
house.
caught my eye. A rat, its head missing, meandering across the kitchen floor.
What kind of blur is
It
that?
was an
I
eerie
still see
echo
it.
of the night's horror, a reminder that what had transpired was all too real. The reality of the situation dawned on me. The entity, though wounded,
He
was
keeps
still at
saying
large,
entity.
its malevolent presence a lurking shadow in my life. I was left to grapple with the guilt, the fear, and the unanswerable questions that now filled my world. In the aftermath
Edit
of
was
that
crazy.
Valentine's night, my existence became a haunting graveyard, a life overshadowed by the darkness of an ancient, unfathomable evil.
You blew it. You didn't do nothing. But kill your bitch.